Hey there, I'm Eliza with Ancestral Evolution, and today we're talking about the top 5 unexpected toxic things that you probably have in your house. For those of you who don't know my background, I'm a family nurse practitioner. I really enjoy doing research on nutrition and health-related topics. Number 1 toxic thing that you probably have in your house are dryer sheets or fabric softeners of some kind. Both dryer sheets and fabric softeners have a class of compounds in them called QACs. That stands for quaternary ammonium compounds. These compounds essentially form a sort of slimy coating on your clothes and your towels, making them feel soft, but it actually does nothing to actually soften the fabric in your clothes. It just puts a chemical coating on there. These compounds have been shown to worsen asthma and cause skin irritation. They've also been linked to cancer and reproductive issues. So, something to definitely avoid if you can at all avoid it. What we use instead of dryer sheets and fabric softeners are wool dryer balls. These are great because they're made 100% out of wool. There's no funny chemicals or other questionable things in them. They're just wool, and they basically just mechanically beat around in the dryer and help your clothes dry faster, so they develop less static, and they also mechanically soften your clothes. They're really easy to make if you want to make your own. I will put a link to a class that I did on how to make your own dryer balls if you're interested. Or if you don't really feel like making your own dryer balls, you can also purchase them. So I'll put a link to some other ones that are pretty decent that you can buy if you'd like to. If you can't live without a nice smell on your clothes, you can also put a couple drops of essential oil on your woolly balls, and it will make your clothes smell a little bit nicer. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Number 2 toxic thing that you probably have in your house are synthetic fragrances. So this is actually a huge class of compounds. There are several hundred compounds that are classified as synthetic fragrances. Some of these compounds are known as allergens, others are known as asthma triggers, others are endocrine disruptors, and others are carcinogens. To make matters worse, oftentimes phthalates are added in with these synthetic fragrances, and in order to make them last longer in the air. Some places where you might find these are your scented candles, your wax melts, your air fresheners, your cleaning agents, your laundry detergents and items, your cosmetics, just to name a few. They are all over the place. So how do you avoid these? I would really encourage you to choose unscented products if you can, and just go for it like the free and clear across the board. And make sure you read labels, because sometimes things will say unscented, but they're actually chemicals added in there to mask a scent. So read labels. Anything that says fragrance or perfume, avoid. If you find yourself just in need of things that smell good, opting for an essential oil is going to be a safer option. And if you need, instead of air fresheners and wax melts, using like a diffuser with some essential oils would be a much better choice. So I'll put a link below into one that we use occasionally. But also know that you don't need, everything doesn't need to smell good. The health problems related to synthetic fragrances is why we choose to use all natural essential oils in our tallow soap that we make. So if you haven't checked out our all natural old-fashioned tallow soap, check it out at ancestralevolution.net. It doesn't have any fragrance oils at all. It's just made with all natural tallow, coconut oil, and essential oils. Next toxic thing that you most probably have in your house are receipts. So receipts, most receipts that is, are printed on what's called thermal paper. So this is paper where one side has a kind of shiny coating, if you've noticed, and what happens when the receipt gets printed is they just use a print head that has heat on it instead of ink. And that heat on the thermal printing produces the writing that you see. The problem with said coating is that it has been shown to have pretty high levels of bisphenol A. This is an endocrine disruptor. It's sort of acts similar to estrogen in the body. So this is particularly a concern for people who have hormone or endocrine issues already, or are struggling with infertility or these kinds of issues. You probably do not want to be handling a lot of receipts. In fact, it's been shown that people who handle receipts a lot, like cashiers and people who are handling thermal paper, have significantly higher levels of bisphenol A in their blood than the general public. So how do you avoid handling receipts? First, if you can, ask for no receipt or an emailed receipt. If you can't do that and you need to get a paper receipt, because the problematic coating on the thermal paper is only on one side, you can fold your receipt carefully and mostly just touch it on the back side of the receipt. So that will sort of minimize your exposure. Get rid of your receipts as soon as you can. Wash your hands after handling them. Don't let your kids play with them or handle them, and don't let them eat them. If you are someone who works at a cash register or works with thermal paper a lot, wearing nitrile gloves or fingertip protectors can help sort of minimize your exposure to this chemical, and definitely be washing your hands after exposure. And number 4 toxic thing you probably have in your house are synthetic food dyes. So there are a bunch of different food dyes which are currently approved in the United States. Some of these food dyes have been shown to be associated with neurobehavioral issues in children, for instance, like ADHD and other things like that. Another one, for instance, red number 3, has been shown to cause cancer in animal studies. That has been established for some time now. So in the United States, red number 3 is banned in cosmetics. Like, you can't use it in lipstick or blush or anything like that. However, you can use it in food and you can eat it all day long. Evidently, there's no problem with that. Trying to square that circle. Red number 3 is clearly problematic for human health, and some of these other ones are also problematic, and I don't think nearly enough research has been done looking at this. Many of the food dyes that are allowed in the United States are banned in parts of Europe already for some of these issues. So how do you avoid food dyes? Well, read your labels. Make sure that your ingredients list does not include a color with a number after it. Kids' foods, kids' snacks, things like this are special culprits for food dyes. If you do need a color for something, not that you really need colors in your food besides the natural colors, but they do make sort of food-based food colorings where the color is from beets or from berries or carrots or something like that instead of the synthetic chemicals. So those are a lot safer, and I'll link below to some of those that I think are pretty decent. Okay, last but not least is microplastics in salt. So microplastics and nanoplastics, which are even smaller than microplastics, are basically all over the place, especially in the ocean. The pollution linked to plastic contamination is a big problem. But it shows up especially in things like salt. So any sea salt or table salt that is derived from modern ocean or modern seawater pretty much will have microplastics in it. Microplastics have been linked to problems with gut endothelium and development of autoimmunity because of that. High levels of microplastics in the blood have been linked to inflammation, obesity, and cancer also. So this is not stuff you want to be ingesting if you can help it. One of the ways we try to avoid microplastics in our salt is to get this salt, which is Redmond's real salt. This is basically salt that is mined. So it's like really old, ancient sea salt that was around before any of this plastic nonsense was an issue. So we hope that by using this, we are decreasing the amount of microplastics that we're ingesting, at least through our salt. It should also be noted that microplastics have been found in everything from water to milk to beer to even honey. So it's a little bit of a scary topic to go delving into, but if you can at least minimize your exposure to some of these things, hopefully that will help your health long term. All right, I think that's it for today. If you have any questions or things you would like to hear more about, I kind of just touched the surface on some of these issues and some of these chemical classes. There's a lot more going on here. And if you're interested in hearing more about that or have specific things you'd like more information on, please mention it in the comments and I will see about doing a more in-depth video on some of those topics if there's interest. All right, I think that's it. And we'll see you next time.